righty. Happy Friday, my friend. Thank you for making the time to be here today. Very much appreciate it. And as a way to get started, give us a quick 60-second background on your career, your life, what led you to where you are today, and give us a little bit of brag about yourself as much as you'd like.
Thank you very much, Connor. My name is Kelland Sewell. I'm the Senior Vice President at RPM3 Solutions. We are a boutique ERM software company. We like to look at risk in many different ways and also to look at it in various specific contexts, which is part of what we'll be talking about today. I've been working in the risk management area for the last number of years. Before that, I was into strategy, so there's a nice link between strategy and risk. This is where we're heading for. Worked for lots of different companies, both large and small, and we're looking to expand our services. But today, I'd like to talk to you about one of my passions, which is sailing. And what we've recently done is we've done a global sailing risk assessment. So we were able to get people from over 10 different companies or countries to participate in the assessment, and we looked at the risks of sailing using our business software. So it was a nice little unique perspective by having these great tools that we could use to look at risk for sailing, and the process is very similar to what you would use in your own business.
And how do businesses successfully assess and mitigate their risks? And what does risk actually mean?
Risk actually means a risk event. So something happens which then either causes a loss or a gain. So risk can be negative as well as positive. So let's always keep that in mind. That's what we're doing. So companies are going to be looking at their goals. Where do they want to get to? And then what they do is they identify, and by looking ahead as to all the risk events that could happen, and then scoring them all so that we can find out the priorities of it. And then once we know the priority risks, we can start to develop mitigation plans to reduce either the probability of it happening or the impact that it could have. And I know that risk as a term gets thrown around quite a bit. But what we're really talking about when we say risk is risk events. I know I do it myself. Talk about risk all the time.
Give a few, walk us through a few examples of risk events and businesses and how that impacts businesses.
So let's put it in the concept or the context of B2B. So you have people that are looking out there, they want to grow their B2B business. And so in that, they're going to set a target. They're going to set a goal that they want to reach. So that's the end position that they want to be in. So what they're going to do is they're going to look at it and say, oh, I want B2B sales. So what risks am I going to face? Well, number one is I need to be able to find B2B customers. So if I don't find customers in the B2B space, that's a risk event. I need to be able to do marketing towards the B2B. And so a risk event could be I make a faux pas on one of my posts that I'm doing. There's a social media risk, and it also goes into reputation as well. So we need to have mitigation plans to reduce that from happening. You have a sales team of B2B sales people that are out there trying to get their business. And if you have an action that gets happened by, say, one of the members and it affects everybody else, that's another risk event that could occur. And so there's just multiple areas that you need to be looked at. I mean, you need to look at finance, you need to look at legal, reputation, political, regulations. So these are all categories of risks, which is what our software does. It creates these nice little categories, and then you can tell between reputation, social media, legal, financial, what area of your organization has the highest amount of risk. And this is similar to the process that I did when we looked at the risk for sailing. I took a boat and I split it down into 10 different systems. So we have weather and waves, we have navigation, plumbing, electrical, the motor, the galley, the crew. These are all different categories that we split risk up into. And we looked at it as to sailors, what risks are we facing? Where is it coming from? And it was interesting on the results was that weather and waves, what we can't control, was the number one category for risk. The number two category, which was a surprise to me, was actually risks that involve the hull of the boat, keeping it afloat. And then number three was the sails. So, I mean, sailors are concerned with what's the weather doing? Is my boat still afloat? And the sails are my engine. So that's what's most important. So it was a nice little exercise looking at it from a sailing perspective. And then looking at it from a business perspective, you do the same thing. What are your goals? Where are the categories of risks that I need to do? And then what am I going to do about them?
And what are some of the greater risks business development leaders should be looking out for?
It's really going to depend on the context. Let's take two companies, A and B. Company A, their goal is to maximize sales. And company B, their goal is to maximize net income. Because they have two different goals, then they're going to face different risks. And this is really, how risk management comes about, is that we need to understand that context in order to find out what's important to the goal. So you can't really say, oh, digital media companies, they have no risk. But that's not true.
Right. So is there anything specific, aside from even just hiring a company like yours to help navigate business risk, what independent steps can people be taking to be proactive?
Well, that's exactly, you've hit it right on the head by that one word, proactive. And that's when you're looking at your strategy for your organization, whether it's for just your sales portion or whether it's for everything, you need to be able to take that proactive approach and say, what is going to prevent me from reaching that goal? And if you can identify 2 or 3 items that are going to prevent you from reaching that goal, then let's mitigate them. And then let's make it makes it easier to reach that goal, because you don't have to worry about those events anymore. This is all a part of how, if you're in the B2B space and you have targets that you need to reach, so what's preventing it? Am I not generating enough leads? Am I not making enough phone calls? Am I not doing enough marketing? These are all possible risk events that are happening to your organization that you need to be able to look at and say, oh yeah, I have a lot of risk in this area. I better do something about it. So it comes back to that concept that I mentioned earlier about positive risk and negative risk. So you put a plan in place and you say, I'm going to take a risk by spending X amount of dollars on lead generation, and I hope to get X amount of sales out of it. So when you do that plan and your expectation or your actual sales exceeds your expectations, that's positive risk. All right, you're expecting to get $200,000 worth of business out of this lead generation, and you end up getting $250,000 worth of business. So there's $50,000 worth of positive risk that you just got out of your company. Still with you there, Connor?
Yeah, I think you cut out there. You
okay.
Still got me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yep. You're kind of cutting in and out a little bit over there.
All right.
I think we're good. Should be good now.
Okay.
Okay. Continue with where you are, sir.
All right. So did you heard the example about positive risk?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is something that a company can do without having a formal program in place. It's that measurement and what are your expectations? you're going to put this strategy in place. What are the risks involved, and what are the expectations? What are you going to get out of it?
How have you successfully created and built your business and a career over the years? Is there any signifying moments that you can point to and strategies you've been using?
Not so much different strategies, but I'm always learning. And I came in new to the B2B space a few years ago, so I've been learning a lot about that. And it is very different from selling B2C. And it's, working away through a different system of who do you talk to, where are your leads going to come from, who do you need to get in front of, how do you pitch your proposals, so much different. And it's more about building those relationships is what it really comes down to in the B2B space, is having that ongoing relationship with your clients, and then using that as leverage to either get referrals, or to use the success that you had with your clients for new business. It's a nice, easy way to use that B2B space and help promote yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, with your business, what are some of the areas that you're finding yourself teaching clients, mentoring other generations on? What are some of the topics that are top of mind for you right now?
Top of mind right now is a lot of businesses are going through change due to COVID-19. And I mean, the new buzzword is pivot, right? Everybody's pivoting to new platforms. Everybody's changing how they're doing business. And when they change business, how they change their processes, change how they're doing business, that opens the door to a whole bunch of new risks that they hadn't before. And it's much better to get in front of all that risk as opposed to when it happens to you, right? This is the whole crux of it, is you need to be able to get in front. And this is what a lot of companies are doing. I actually have one client right now that has done a COVID-19 risk assessment based on their new way of working. So there's a lot of conversations going on in the media today about, are people going to go back to work, go back to the office 5 days a week? And a lot of the articles are saying, no, people do not want to do that. They like to work from home. They don't want to do the 3 hours of commuting. I mean, you work from home. How do you find it, right?
I've been working from home for 3-4 years now, but it's nice having an office, but I think they've found more people are impactful working from home, even though from the outside in, it may not appear like it. They are getting more done.
And I find COVID-19 has really changed people's perceptions about having video chats on the meetings. And so with that, I have basically what I call my international days, where I start the morning out and I'm talking to somebody in the UK, and then I'll go down and I'll be talking to, an hour later, I'm talking to somebody in Brazil, and then an hour after that, I'm on with somebody in the US, and then I'm out Western Canada. And so it's all done by video, and I haven't had to go anywhere. Plus the clients have not had to pay for travel. They haven't had to pay for my time, other than, the time that we spend on the video chat.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of companies are going to stay that way. Was most of your business done in person prior to this, and how have you made adjustments on your end besides, remote meetings?
So I've made some changes. We've hired a lead generator on LinkedIn, and so that creates a lot of contacts. Prior to that, it was spending time and going to conferences and going to the ERM conference in Canada, the ERM conference in Bermuda, the one in the US, just a lot of time on conferences to get, that's where my space is for me. And so you had to build all those personal relationships at the conferences and network your way that way. Whereas now people are more accepting as to, sending them a digital invitation to connect and then having a 15-minute chat with them on the phone to find out, hey, is there a fit? What are you up against? What are your opportunities? What challenges are you facing today? And it's a really nice way to learn what is going on, especially when you're looking at different parts of the world, especially in COVID right now, looking at various parts of the world that, everybody's coming out of restrictions at different points in time here. And it's interesting to see all those differences.
Talk about that a little more. What led you to the decision on hiring a LinkedIn lead generation company?
It's just a matter of trying to get more of the right people and getting in front of the right people. And LinkedIn helps me do that. And with the lead generator, then basically I don't have to waste my time or spend my time on that activity every day. And I can concentrate on having conversations and servicing my clients. And it makes it a lot grown exponentially over the last year, and it's really helps, and especially if you're trying to do it globally. And that's a mindset that I have a friend of mine who's a consultant, and he lives a couple of towns over for me, but both of us are looking at beyond our own little community. We're looking globally as to what business can we do? How can we help companies out there?
Yeah, with the lack of travel, what other channels are you using to reach your market?
I've done lots of experimenting between different social media channels. Sorry, Facebook, but it just doesn't work for me. But I am having some good success on Instagram, and that has been our main channel for the sailing assessment. And I have lots of pictures. If you go to the RPM3 Solutions Instagram page, you'll find lots of pictures of sailing. And at the same time, we're also talking about the risks of sailing that we found through our assessment.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little deeper?
Yeah, it was a really interesting exercise. We started from scratch, reaching out to sailors around the world who are on their boats in the middle of the ocean, and not everybody always had internet connections to get emails and that sort of thing. But Instagram was a nice platform for reaching out, and from there, so we've done it. We've completed our first risk assessment on it, and now we're looking to take it to the next step. And the next step for us would actually be applying enterprise risk management, ERM, applying ERM to a sailing racing team. So you have all these teams that race around the oceans, and we'd like to partner with somebody to look at the risks of doing that and how can it improve their performance? How can they get to the head of the pack, looking at risk management and not having those risk events happen to them out in the middle of the ocean.
So what were some of the findings out of that study that surprised you, or assessment that surprised you the most?
There were, I have to say that I was surprised that navigation was so low on the list, which makes me think that sailors as a whole are very confident about getting to where they want to go. But the other items that I found was that it's changed the way I'm sailing, and it's also changing the way I'm prepping for my boat. I found a lot of the risks involved when your crew has to go up on deck. So having really good footing on your deck, your crew, is really important. And that's one of the things that I'm actually changing on my boat right now for myself, is that I'm improving the footing up on our deck so that when somebody has to go up there and they're bouncing around and doing 3-meter waves, that they can easily hang on. Our basic rule is one hand for the boat and one hand for yourself. So even if you're tethered in, you still need one hand for the boat. You don't want to be relying on your tether.
That's a scary sport for sure.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but so worth it when you get out sailing. It's where I like to be.
That's great. I'm jealous. I've never gotten a chance to sail before, but I have to definitely try it out at some point in the near future.
Well, if you ever find yourself in Toronto, just look me up.
Yeah, absolutely will. So what are, for the marketers and business leaders, business development leaders that are listening in, what are some other top tips and recommendations that you would make for them right now?
I think a lot of it is about measurement. And we have, in risk management, we have what are called KRIs, key risk indicators. And in business, you have a lot of KPIs, key performance indicators. The difference between the two is that KPIs look at past performance and KRIs look at future performance. Give you a quick example. I used to work for a utility in the Arctic, and so everything was 100% diesel generation for electricity. So one of the KRIs for that was the price of oil. Where was the price of oil going? Was it going up or down? And that had a great influence on the price of electricity because it would either drive it up or down. And oil has a nice, beautiful futures market that you can monitor that all the time. So you can see where it is, where it's going. And it's a question of measurement, looking at where are you trying to go, what are you trying to get to, and actually putting some numbers to it. Then in risk management, you can then prove your performance on it. I reduced this risk and my sales went up. So that's where we're looking for the businesses to help them along, is that looking at those metrics. A lot of people, especially in sales, they're very good at looking at their metrics for themselves, but you need to just expand that view just a little bit more around the world, and that helps bring it all together for you, so that you make sure that you've got your number of calls, you've got your number of appointments, you've got your number of proposals done, and then at the same time expanding and looking at the world and looking at your industry and saying, where is it going and how is it changing? I'd be ahead of it.
Fantastic. How can people find you, follow you, get into contact with you?
The easiest way is to find me on LinkedIn. So Kelland Sewell on LinkedIn is the easiest way to find me. And we also have our company page on there as well, RPM3 Solutions, with a number of different posts and videos that are up on it. Easy way to get in touch, and we can have that 15-minute call to begin with.
Well, Kelland, grateful for you making the time to be with us and mentor us today, and really appreciate it. And for those of you listening, don't forget, make sure you subscribe on all your favorite podcast apps and leave a review. We will see you